What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Open Great League running a triple duck theme team. Now before anyone else mentions it, yes I know Homesize Henry has already done this concept, but this is a slightly different team and it's actually a team I ran a few seasons ago to also try and meme it, but back then I wasn't making as frequent GBL content, so I've decided to revisit it for today's video. Now there are very limited options available if we're running a triple duck team, so unfortunately there are going to be a lot of core breakers to this team, but despite that we're still able to pick up some insane wins against some very meta teams. So with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. Which animal would you like to see a Pokemon's design based off of in a future generation? Preferably an animal that we haven't already seen in the Pokemon world. Let me know in the comment section below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle here, we lead into a defense form Deoxys, so we're already met with a core breaker to the team. I'm going to safe swap into the Farfetch'd here, go for a shield on the Psycho Boost, and now we should be able to get to back-to-back Leaf Blades before they get to the next Psycho Boost, but I do just slightly overfarm here. We land the first Leaf Blade, but it was a CMP tie. I'm thinking they've debuffed their attack, we barely survive it, and then I can go for another Leaf Blade, and if they don't shield this, we're actually going to be able to take out the defense form Deoxys. They're going to come in with a Azumarill. This isn't great for me, but we still do have that Leaf Blade coverage on the Sirfetch'd, so I'm going to bring it in here. I'm not anticipating that my opponent will throw straight away, so I'm going to go for the Leaf Blade after 7 counters, go for one more counter, try to catch the charge move here, hoping they might also bait me with an Ice Beam, but they hold onto their energy. They come in with Umbreon, and for most Confusion users, Umbreon is a massive pain, but we're actually running Cross Chop on this Shadow Golduck, and we don't have that Psychic sub-typing, so it's not the worst matchup ever. Of course, these Cross Chops don't really do too much damage, but they will start adding up over time, especially if my opponent underestimates my energy, because I'm able to get to a third one and my opponent just lets the Umbreon go down, which is perfect for me. They're going to come back in with the Azumarill. I'm going to let this charge move go through. They have Ice Beam, so that is good to know. They're at the second Ice Beam already, but we should be able to outpace them to 2 Leaf Blades now because they have used up all of their energy. We go for the first one here. This should be getting a shield, and we know we have a little bit of leeway here, so we're going to go for 4 counters, go for the perfect timing here, go for the Leaf Blade, and we're able to take out the Azumarill and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Galarian Weezing. We do have that confusion damage, so this is a pretty good matchup for me, but I am going to respect the damage from a play rough here. But they go for an Overheat, which is really strange. That is, of course, resisted by the water typing. They're going to swap into Bastiodon, and at this point, I'm just going to fully commit to farming it down. Flamethrower will do a lot of damage, but actually, they go for a Stone Age, which is even better for me. And actually, a Flamethrower might have even taken me out with those extra smackdowns, but we go for a Brave Bird. We take out the Galarian Weezing. What do they have in the back? It is a Shadow Victory Bell. Of course, we've seen the Bastiodon. They're going to be running a Victory Bell as well. This is pretty tricky for me, but I do hit for super effective damage with the Confusions. We get the first shield from the Victory Bell. We're just going to go for a Leaf Blade here, and this should still get a second shield from this Victory Bell, and we do, but unfortunately we go down before we get to the next move. I'm expecting them to throw a charge move straight away, so I get a full Confusion through, and that is going to put them into range where Cross Chop is easily enough to take out this Shadow Victory Bell, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead Golduck into Scrafty, not the best lead, but we do have 2 semi-responses to it, and they're actually going to swap into a Runerigus here, so we're going to go for a Leaf Blade. This will do massive super effective damage, and we actually get to a second one before they can take us out with a charge move, so that is perfect. We've got a shield advantage. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm thinking if they go for a bait here, we might even live the Sand Tomb and get to another Leaf Blade, and we're barely able to, so we should be able to take back switch advantage, or get a 2 shield advantage, which is really nice for me here. There's no way they're going for another Sand Tomb here, so I'm going to shield it up. They do go for the Shadow Ball. It's a good shield from me. Now they're going to come back in with Scrafty. We're going for the Cross Chop here, get that guaranteed damage. I don't know what they have in the back. We're going to swap into the Sirfetch'd here, and my opponent just concedes the match, so don't have a clue what they had in the back, but obviously Sirfetch'd and Shadow Golduck together would have been enough to take them out. Unfortunately, into the next match, we meet another core breaker to the team, Medicham, and this is especially bad when they're running Power Up Punch, which they are. we're just going to go for a cross chop here, hoping my opponent doesn't really know what moves we could be running, and we do get a shield, which is nice. I'm going to swap into the Farfetch'd here. My opponent holds on to their energy, they go into an Alolan Ninetales, and things are not looking good. We land the Brave Bird, but it's not enough to take out the Ninetales. We're going to come in with the Golduck. We're barely able to get to the cross chop here. Excuse me. And cross chop does take out the Ninetales, but they're just going to come back in with Medicham, farming down, and things are not looking good. We know they're just going to go for a Power Punch. Actually, no. They go for a Psychic, so that is a really good shield for me there. And we're going to go for the Leaf Blade here. My opponent actually shields it up, so I'm thinking whatever they have in the bag is going to be super weak to Sirfetch'd. So I'm going to try and overfarm, but I have to be careful because these counters are really adding up on the Sirfetch'd, so I can't overfarm by much. And unfortunately, we go for the Leaf Blade there, but they have a Licky Tongue, and we're not gonna have enough health to get to that Brave Bird now, so we have to commit to the Leaf Blade, and Leaf Blade is just nowhere near enough damage to take out that Licky Tongue, and we do lose that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, and we're met with another Medicham, so this is not good. This time we're just going to save swap instantly into the Sirfetch'd. We're going for the Brave Bird. Is my opponent going to respect the damage? They do, and now they're able to fully counter farming down. And this is looking really bad for me now, so I'm going to come back in with the Shadow Golduck, expecting them to just go for a Psychic straight away. There's no reason to bait here, and they don't bait, they do go straight for it. And unfortunately they're able to get to another Psychic here. Because we don't have that Psychic subtyping, that does massive damage, but we do barely survive. We're going to go for the Cross Chop here. Cross Chop is caught onto a Lantern, so my opponent is just considerably outplaying me at the moment. We're going to go for the Leaf Blade. Please tell me this KOs, and it doesn't, and now they're able to get to a charge move, and things go from bad to worse for me. We have to shield the Surf because otherwise Medicham will easily counter me down, but they're still going to beat me anyway, so I do concede the match there. So we go 3-2 there in that first set. We had a really good start, but unfortunately Medicham is proving to be very difficult to deal with when I'm using this triple duck team. Now into the next game, we lead into a Venusaur. They go for a charge move on the alignment. We get a full confusion through, and I'm easily able to farm down the Venusaur. They're going to come in with Umbreon. We're going to chip them with one cross chop and then swap into the Farfetch'd here. My opponent is actually going to stay in for a while. Eventually they swap into the Lucario. Once again, we're going straight for that Brave Bird. And Brave Bird does get shielded again, so perhaps I should start baiting with this Pokemon, but it's very difficult to call. We go for the Leaf Blade, and we do get a second shield, which is really good. I'm anticipating that maybe my opponent goes straight for a Power Punch in this situation, so I'm going to no-shield it. But it's actually a Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does huge damage. It takes me out. It would have taken me out from like near full health anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But this is just a Power Punch. We let it go through. This Umbreon could potentially be running Psychic, so I want to save my shield for that. They go for a foul play there, and at this point I am now in range, or they're in range for me to go for a Brave Bird. And Brave Bird takes out the Umbreon, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Swampert. So despite the fact that we do resist the Hydro Cannons, they're going to be able to get to the Earthquake extremely fast. We go for the CMP tie here, but perhaps the play was to go over and then get the full confusion through, because now my opponent baits me with a Hydro Cannon, and once again this is going to be another CMP tie. This time they do have the Earthquake. I'm expecting them to just go for it, but I will let this move go through. And it is the Earthquake. It takes me out. I'm hoping I can counter farm them down before they get to another Hydro Cannon, and I am able to. They come in with Sableye. This is looking pretty good for me, but my opponent catches it on the Skarmory, and as well they get the Air Slash through, so that's a triple defense debuffed Sirfetch'd taking an Air Slash from the Skarmory. I can't really shield here because I'm not going to be able to take out the Skarmory. And at this point, they're just going to be able to Air Slash farm me down. And yeah, really nice catch there by my opponent. I don't think it was necessary. They could have just come in with the Skarmory, but as well, they would have taken more counter damage from the Sirfetch'd. So I guess maybe it was pretty good. They're going to sway into this game here. We're going to go for a Leaf Blade up against this Drapion. We are baiting now, but unfortunately, my opponent calls a bait. But we have so much energy. We already have a Brave Bird, and Brave Bird takes out the Drapion. So that is really good for me here. My opponent did lead with a Jellicent, by the way. I was just still commentating over the previous battle. We get to another Brave Bird up against this Venusaur, and we one-shot the Venusaur, and now things are looking pretty good, but this Jellicent has so much energy that it's going to be very tricky here. We're going to let this go through. We should still tank a Shadow Ball, and then we're going to swap into the Sirfetch'd, but they still have so much energy, and this is going to be a baiting game. Are they going to bait this Sirfetch'd? Yes, they are. They go for a Bubble Beam. That is painful to shield, but we kind of have to respect the Shadow Ball damage. We go for a Leaf Blade here, and they're able to get to another charge move. We're going to shield again. Surely they go for the Shadow Ball now. No, they bait me again, and at this point, I think that's going to be game over. They still have a ton of energy. They should be at the Shadow Ball now, and they are. And this will be taking out the Sirfetch'd. So it's just a case of, can we get to an Ice Beam on the Golduck? Will we get there? No, we're not able to, and unfortunately we do lose that game. I'm not even sure if an Ice Beam would have taken them out, but that was my only play there. So into the next game, we lead into another Medicham. And I'm really not sure what we do here, so we're going to let the move go through. This time they are running Ice Punch, which is really nice for me. I'm going for the Ice Beam this time, really hoping they let this go through, but they don't. We're going to save swap into the Farfetch'd here. My opponent probably going to go for an Ice Punch bait as well, or maybe they just think we're a flying type. I don't really know, but we're going to go for the Leaf Blade here just before they throw their next charge move, and Leaf Blade does get the shield from the Medicham. They overfarm. We're going to get to another Leaf Blade, and from this range, Leaf Blade is enough to take out the Medicham. They're going to come in with the Lickitung here. I'm actually not going to choose to throw a Leaf Blade. I just want to force them to throw their energy so that they're not able to shield and farm me down, although they didn't have a shield anyway, but I don't know. We're going to come in with the Sirfetch'd here, and I'm thinking this is probably going to be a Bastiodon in the back, and it is, and things are looking really good for me now. We're actually not going to throw our energy at all. We're going to catch the Flamethrower on the Shadow Golduck. Flamethrower takes out the Golduck. I'm going to be able to fully counter, farm down this Bastiodon, go for a Brave Bird up against the Lickitung. My opponent realizes that, so they concede the match. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Nidoqueen. And this is the thing I hate about Nidoqueen. We should be winning this matchup, right? We've got Confusion that deals massive super effective damage, but we kind of have to respect the damage from this Poison Fang, and that also does debuff our defense. So now we're definitely going to have to shield the next one if we want to maintain this matchup. But I'm actually going to choose not to. I'm thinking a very common team composition for Nidoqueen in the lead is going to be a double dark backline, so we should be able to handle it in the back. We're going to come in with the Farfetch'd here, get to a Leaf Blade just before they get to the Poison Fang, and my opponent is actually going to shield it up, so that is really nice. We don't have to shield up this Poison Fang, and we should be able to get to another Leaf Blade to guarantee we get rid of this Nidoqueen, and things should be looking good if it is in fact the double dark team. We're going to instantly swap into the Sirfetch'd here. It's an Umbreon. It's looking pretty good for us. That is going to be a double dark. And as well, because it's Umbreon, it's most likely going to be Scrafty as the other Pokemon. So we're going to overfarm here, go for the Brave Bird. They should be in range where Brave Bird takes out the Umbreon, and they do have a Scrafty in the back, which is perfect. We're going to go for the second Brave Bird, and this will easily be able to one-shot that Scrafty, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead Shadow Golduck into Hypno, and this might be the worst core breaker out of all of them, and we also desync at the start, so I kind of have to throw my charge move here before the Hypno does, otherwise I won't get the next Confusion through. They know it's just a cross chop, and things go from bad to worse because they've also got an Alolan Ninetales. I don't even bother throwing my move, I'm just gonna quit the match. There was nothing we could have done there, unfortunately, so GG's to that opponent there. And into the final game here, we're going to lead into a Lantern. I'm going to say swap into this Farfetch'd here. Farfetch'd gets a shield with the Leaf Blade. They're now going to swap into an Ariados. We're going straight for the Brave Bird. It's been shielded a ton of times, but Brave Bird does land in it. One-shots the Ariados here, and my opponent is now going to come in with Victini. We're going to commit to the Brave Bird, and once again, we're able to get there. Are they going to respect the damage? Yes, they do respect it this time, and at this point, I'm going to come in with the Shadow Golduck. We should be able to live anything they throw here. Actually, no, they go for a Psychic. We don't have that Psychic typing, so that does massive damage, but we do barely hold on. They go for a V-Create now. They debuff their defense by 3 stages, and we're now going to be able to go for a Leaf Blade here. Leaf Blade with the debuff defense takes out the Victini, and this should be pretty comfortable for us. This Lantern does have a ton of energy, but we should be able to get to 1 Leaf Blade, and with the counter damage, that will be enough to take out this Lantern. So we're going to shield the second Surf here, overfarm just a little bit, and we've seen previously that from this range, Leaf Blade is now enough to take out the Lantern, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, then make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future and you're not yet subscribed, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you're going to be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, let's get into the shoutouts from my previous video. So firstly, we got the Shadow Master himself, Jamie Finn, who says Beedrill, and he was saying that it's a huge core breaker, especially at the regional tournaments where it's looking awesome against 4 or 5 Pokemon on most teams. Then he put his money where his mouth was and used it to hit Legend last season, and it's also featured in his signature team, one of the strongest triple shadow teams out there, if not the strongest, so definitely check out his channel if you haven't done so already. Next we got Namja A, who says Shadow Sharpedo is so underrated, and honestly if you're looking for a high damage output Glass Cannon Shadow Pokemon, then Shadow Sharpedo is really strong in that sense. You often think of like Shadow Victory Bell, Shadow Charm users, but no one really uses Shadow Sharpedo, and it definitely acts very differently, but I think that Water and Dark typing does give it a lot of resistances that are very handy in the current meta. And finally we got Akito Chu, who says Shadow Politoed has got me to Legend every season. Weather Ball is so spammy and it has worked so well as a safe swap with unpredictable nukes in Blizzard and Earthquake to win back switch. Now this is a Pokemon that back when Weather Ball first came to the game, Politoed and Shadow Politoed were everywhere and they were incredibly difficult to deal with, but since the Weather Ball nerf, Politoed's usage has basically fallen off and you don't see it used very often at all, but it's still very strong, especially in that Shadow form. Weather Ball still does hit hard, it's extremely spammy, and it can just get to those charge moves faster than you expect. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.